Lizardlea here for For Heavenly Beasts Day 39. I am officially back from Christmas. All of the videos you guys just watched were filmed pre-Christmas. Sorry. So, I am on the last little bit. I'm so excited. And I'm also about to listen to the Stormlight Archive book that I'm on. By Brandon Sanderson. It's the most recent one per January 2022. I'm still kind of sleepy. I did not sleep very well last night. I don't know why. But once the sun is fully up, I'm going to cross stitch. I don't think I'll finish today. There's still a lot of colors, so sorry. We are going.
We are going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're going to talk.
So, yeah, I began this video by telling you guys I was going to start Rhythm of War from the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I finished it last week?
Yep.
Yeah.
Many moons later.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
As DJ types away.
yeah, well, I'm recording what we're doing. So, anyways, I guess we decided we're going to go over the whole series, though, because, I don't think we've ever really discussed it, or if we have, I doubt anyone remembers, so take that, people.
I don't know how much I remember.
Yeah, that too. So, fair warning, we'll try to limit spoilers, but there's going to be some, and I think this is one of the best book series I've ever read. I think Liz is enjoying it, so if you haven't read these, go read them. They're very good. They're much more all ages than most of the content we discuss. They're still mature, but not hyper-mature, horrible. Well, there's some dark stuff, but not messed up stuff.
I mean, I feel like I cried more with his other series.
Yeah, but my point being, this isn't like utterly disturbing like 90%.
Oh yeah,
of what
no,
we discussed.
this is not Made in Abyss.
Yeah,
this is significantly cheerier.
Yes.
It is it's not Made in Abyss.
So, in case you're not aware, Brandon Sanderson is a
very good author.
Yeah, he's a
holy crap. Continue.
Sci-fi fiction author, fantasy author who puts out like 2 to 5 books a year sometimes, all very high quality. He's written quite a few series. He finished off Wheel of Time when the author passed. I think he's very good. His style's changed a little bit as he's gotten, more mature in his writing, but did Mistborn, which I don't know if we ever discussed.
There we go, Mistborn, yeah. Oh, we absolutely did.
Yeah, we did, and we also think is very good. He did the Mistborn Season 2 stuff, and then he's done a bunch of other things.
Did he do this? He's the superhero one?
Yes, he did the superhero
Steelheart. Love that series. Holy crap.
He's done Starlight, or whatever it's called that I'm currently reading, which you should probably try when we get there. And then he did the Stormlight Archive, which is kind of his Dark Tower. And if you don't get incredibly nerdy references, that's because...
It's Stephen King, isn't it?
Yes.
I feel like most people are going to get Stephen King.
Right, but not a lot of... Well,
especially
if
since
you've
it got
read
a movie.
Dark Tower, you know, but the thing is that Stephen King's books most technically live in the same universe.
Yeah.
And Dark Tower is the one that kind of ties it all together. Well, a lot of Sanderson's books, not all of them, because he writes a ton, but a lot of them, all exist in the same universe called the Cosmere, and Stormlight Archive is the one that's kind of like making that very apparent and tying it all together very slowly.
Yeah, one of the characters in this is from Warbreaker, which
Yes.
I know I talked about because I friggin' loved that book.
Mm-hmm. So there's cameo appearances and major appearances from other characters and whatnot, slowly but surely. There's supposed to be like 9-10 of these things. Liz just finished book 4. So
Oh my gosh.
there's still a few years more of these. Anyways, Stormlight Archive, Way of Kings, that's the first one. Kind of opens with this end of a battle that has been like super, super bad, and 9 people survived, or 15 or something like that. I forget how many exactly of these special people, they're called heralds, as you'll find out later, survived, and one of them didn't make it. But the thing is it's kind of implied that when you don't make it, rather than dying, you go to this like hell-like place and are tortured, and this has happened before, and normally they wind up there, but whatever they decided this one time that, oh well, sucks to be that other guy, we give up, we're walking away from this. Fast forward an undetermined amount of time, and there's sort of a diplomatic meeting going on between the Parshendi, this race of
marbled skin, red,
yeah,
black. Is there any white?
I think it's red and black.
I think it's red and black. Yeah.
People that
they can grow armor naturally.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So there are these people on a planet called Roshar, called the, oh my gosh, what's Dalinar and all his people? Whatever, there's these warlike people, and most of the planet thought the Parshendi were like these servile, docile people who they use pretty much as slave labor because they think that they can barely think for themselves. But then they started finding these Parshendi who could think and talk and act, and so they're maybe about to do some sort of treaty with them, and you get the point of view of the assassin who's been sent to kill the man who's setting up the treaty. Gavilar, I think?
Was it Gavilar? I think
believe so.
He was basically the king.
Yes, he's the king.
He was the king, actually.
Of these very warlike people. And so the assassin just rips through everybody, and he has these really cool powers that allow him to like manipulate gravity, essentially, in really interesting ways. And he succeeds in killing the king. Again, this is all first chapter stuff, so if it sounds heavily spoilerific, it's not. From there, you finally meet an a barely named character who's going to go find out and lead us to Kaladin, who's this guy who's currently a slave because something happened while he was fighting a war. Like, he was a low-level soldier in an army and was kind of well-liked, and then stuff happened, and now he's a slave who's going to be dragged to the Shattered Plains where this big war is still ongoing with Parshendi, and find out all about bridge crews, which is just such a wonderful thing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, you meet who was one of my first favorite characters, which is Rock, and then my other favorite, one of my other favorite characters, which is one-armed guy.
Lopen.
Love Lopen.
So yeah, one of the main plots that will be followed through is Kaladin and his point of view, and so that starts with him on a bridge crew, which I'm not even sure I'm going to go into that because just that initial reading of what it is
that
such
part
a cool
is
moment.
kind of horrific.
Yes,
like
that was the part where I was thinking, yep, that's the dark stuff.
Mm-hmm. Staying on point with this cross-stitch channel.
Yeah, well, yes.
You laugh, but it's not wrong.
And war crimes.
Yeah.
Today on this channel. So he's one of the main points of view. It's one of those multi-point of view books, kind of like Game of Thrones, if you've ever read that, speaking of war crime novels. And the other one...
Alethi,
that's right, they're called Alethi. The warlike people are Alethi.
The human-like war people.
Yeah. Kaladin is an Alethi.
I googled it. I did not remember that.
And there's another character named Shallan, and she is a young Alethi woman who is trying to go study under this famous Alethi woman named Jasna. She's like Yasna. She's like a princess, I think, roughly, sort of, kind of. And she's very close to the royal family, basically.
Well,
like
yeah, her mom was queen.
Yeah, her mom was queen.
Or at
so
least married to the king.
Yeah, however you want to look at that. So she wants to go find this Yasna, who's like a famous philosopher / scholar, and study under her. And she has ulterior motives, which, again, I'm not sure I want to go super deep into that, because finding all that out is kind of interesting. And yeah, it's... It
is long. It is detailed. It is worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, personally, almost every single one of Brandon Sanderson's books, especially in the Stormlight Archive, opens with a preview that I just don't give a crap about because I care about the main people. And I did not like the opening of the first book. And I didn't like the second opening of the first book.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like either of them because I was like, what's the relevance right now? Like, this means nothing to me, and I hated it. Looking back, now I'm okay with it, kind of like I was with Mistborn. Hated the opening because I had no concept of what it meant, and I didn't remember it. That's my issue. Like, if I could remember it, like, if I had a book, a physical book, I could go back and reread it. But with an audiobook, it's like, I don't want to re-listen to, like, 6 hours of information. I want to skim it. It's still worth it. You know, just read the prequel, just get through it. I do. I just said I finished it at the beginning of this video 10 minutes ago.
I know. So, yeah. On top of that, there's just some really cool ideas. Like, for example, there's the idea of shard blades and shard plate, which are kind of like the super weapons of their world. They're all... so, like, a shard blade is a giant sword, like the size of a human, but it weighs next to nothing, and it cuts through anything. It doesn't, like, actually sever... Like, it'll cut through any sort of inorganic material, and if it goes through organic material, it doesn't actually cut it, but anything that was, like, past the point of the cut, like, basically dies. And if you get someone through, like, the neck or spinal cord, their eyes shrivel, and they die. So, super, super dangerous, and the only way to stop it is with shard plate, which is, like, this almost Iron Man style, like, plate armor that's incredibly strong, lets you jump and run really far and high, and it can block a certain number of shard blade blows, but will eventually crack and break. So there's kind of an interesting thing going on there, and it can run out of power as well. I think there's a few other characters that are worth mentioning. There's Adolin, who is
I love Adolin.
the oldest son of Dalinar. That was the other character. Dalinar is the other point of view character. I should probably mention him. Yeah, Dalinar is the brother of Gavilar, the man who was killed at the very beginning. So he's sort of like
the new appointed king.
Not exactly.
Or no, wait.
It's
it's his son. Gavilar's son.
Elhokar is the king.
Elhokar, yeah.
Yeah, Dalinar is one of the advisors to Gavilar.
There we go.
So they're trying to keep everything together and figure out how to fix this whole mess of a world. And the short of it is, it's just not easy. And he's very interesting because he basically had a coming to Jesus moment when his brother died because he was drunk during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so he hated himself because he felt that he could have, maybe defended his brother had he not been a wreck. So he's suddenly gotten into this, like, book called The Way of Kings that was written by an old ruler and is, like, not exactly found religion, but at the same time is like trying to follow the old ways and needs to lead people, and he's got his reasons for doing that, which are also kind of interesting, so I'm going to try to avoid spoiling them. But he's a very interesting character because a lot of people are like treating him like, well, why don't you just be who you used to be, and his whole life choices around that. So yeah. But his oldest son is named Adolin. Adolin is
a ball of wonderfulness.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
I really like him.
You do. He's a very good duelist. He's kind of a ponce, and he's just this rich kid, but he's not a jerk. He's just grown up, as part of the elite, and doesn't particularly love it, but doesn't, still dresses nice and, really nice, and cares a lot about dueling and whatnot, and doesn't understand why his father's being weird, and so on and so forth, so he gets to develop his character. And then there's his other brother, or Adolin's brother, the other son, Renarin, who you don't learn too much about this early.
He's still precious to me, though.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to, legitimately be on the spectrum.
Yeah, he comes across like that. And then it probably doesn't help that Adolin is very overprotective of him at times.
Yeah.
So that's just gonna, make that harsher. It's gonna be harder for him to socialize because his brother's always protecting him.
Yeah, so you don't find out too much about him immediately, but he's an interesting character as well. Almost all of his characters are interesting.
Oh,
You've always tried them. On the bridge crew, back with Kaladin, there are Rock, who is someone that Liz loves, and Lopin, who Liz also loves. Yeah. They're kind of the rejects of the world. It turns out being on a bridge crew is not a fun thing.
Yeah, no, it's basically a suicide club.
Yeah, you're in a really
But you
bad
were put
position.
in the club against your will.
Yeah. So that's horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
There's these things called Spren. We should probably explain Spren.
Oh yeah, the little fairy guys.
Yeah, basically in their world, emotions and concepts have these fairies attached to them. So there's Fear Spren and Rot Spren.
Glory Spren. Every time a Glory Spren pops up, I'm always like, yes! Because it means something awesome happened.
Yeah. Honor Spren, Wind Spren. All these things, and they have these little fairies attached to them. Some of them are more fairy-like, but yeah, most are more almost like little energy insects, like
Yeah.
not much smarter. Maybe a little smarter, but it depends on the kind of spread. And so that's just sort of an accepted thing. And then there's also the concept of the storm. There's this high storm that circles the planet and never goes away. And when it rips through, it's like a hurricane. It's like throwing boulders around. And it's kind of interesting because this is the kind of world building that I love about Sanderson is the entire world is built with the idea of like, well, there's this massive, continent-spanning hurricane that hits with, clockwork kind of precision. How would society and how would creatures evolve under that? So, like, you don't have normal creatures. There are no cows because a cow would get splattered every week when the storm comes by. So the cow equivalent is called a chull, and it's like a big, big insect, kind of like a crab, mixed with a giant tortoise that, has a rock for a shell and can hunker down when the storm hits. And everyone's society is based on like, oh, can you weather the storm or pick up and move during the storm, or what can you do about the storm?
There is one character, I don't remember her name because she wasn't in this most recent book at all. The one the turtle lady with the shopkeeper.
She was technically in the book, just not from her point of view.
Well, you're gonna have to go over that with me because I missed that.
Yep.
But there's one point when she, steps off a carriage or a boat, and she encounters grass for the first time.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Because at first I was like, well, that's not normal grass. Like, this is not normal. And then I was like, wait a minute. No, yeah, it's moving with the wind. Like, it's normal grass.
They've just never seen it before.
Yeah, so it seems like it's, something enchanting and wild. Like, it was really cool. I know it sounds stupid, but it was really cool. I really like how Brandon Sanderson did it.
Building his world and then making his characters seem like they live in him.
Yeah, and they're completely believable.
There are several mundane to us things that appear throughout these books, and at first you don't recognize them because the descriptions of the characters are of people having never seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
There is times where a character encounters what is quite obviously, in hindsight, a parrot, and they call it a chicken because that's the only reference they have for any sort of winged creature with feathers, and that's still only because of like really, really rare sightings of chickens in one specific society that they've heard about in books. Like, no one knows what a normal bird looks like because birds don't survive on hurricane every week planet. So yeah, there's a very cool power system. I don't want to get lost in it because it'll take the rest of the frickin' video.
Yeah, and we only have like 4 minutes.
Yeah, but it's very detailed. He does a really good job of coming up with these systems. He doesn't tell you everything all at the front, which I like.
Yeah, I prefer that because if it's too information heavy, I get bogged down in it, and then I have a harder time understanding it.
And he generally ramps it up well to where things you learn still matter. It's not like, oh, we learned about this in the first book, but no one cares about that anymore because now they're all doing this. There's still everything you learn does matter. It's all very interesting. It's got neat ideas. People love the Harry Potter house stuff. This is loosely like that, but I think with a lot more interesting depth. Like, personality does matter, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah, so I'm watching a guy on YouTube myself. His channel is The Closer Look. He's really fun. He analyzes a lot of things, and he discusses how to make movies better, basically, and he constantly references Brandon Sanderson and his world building. It's actually really cute. He's like, all hail Brando Sando. It's the cutest thing. I absolutely love it. Brandon Sanderson tweeted him, and he was like, it was just the cutest thing. Like, he just fangirled out. I loved it. Fanboyed, whatever.
Yeah. So actually, I guess it's worth mentioning, Brandon Sanderson has taught writing at BYU, and those videos are on YouTube, so you can actually watch his theories and all these things on like how he designed all this stuff, and it makes a lot of sense because it's really well laid out, and it actually teaches like, you don't have to do it this way, but here's the different ways to look at things, here's how to categorize things, here's how to, think about how these things are going to impact your narrative, and that's how you do good writing, is by kind of planning ahead and knowing what you want to do rather than just like, well, I'll wing it, well, you can, but that's a whole other story. So either way, guy's kind of smart and sort of kind of knows his writing.
He's a great author. Yeah.
So it's worth at least getting his opinion on the matter.
I concur.
But yeah, the books are great. That's the first one. I don't want to go into anything remotely spoilery because, like I said, it's worth reading. It's one of the easiest things to recommend because it's, not hyper violent. It's not super gross. It's not incredibly disturbing like a bazillion things.
It's not
we
Made
talk
in
about.
Abyss.
Yeah, talk about here. It's just straight up good, very approachable. I mean, there's still war and death and whatnot, but it's a lot more standard, and it's not even like Game of Thrones level of nonsense. It's way less.
That's something I was going to talk about because you said war. I really appreciate the way Brandon Sanderson handles PTSD, for instance. Like, there are characters who are suffering from it, obviously. And they don't quite understand what PTSD is exactly. Like, they don't know how to handle it. And like, I really appreciate his writing and his depth. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he gives a fair shake to just about anything. Like, there are characters who you might think he would skimp on due to personal beliefs or whatnot, but he is, from everything I've seen, always tried to give a fair interpretation of something or a well-researched interpretation
Oh
of
yeah,
something.
Yasna is not religious, and she's one of the best characters.
Yeah, she's very
Like,
well
and
written.
he's Mormon, so
Yeah, and
it's,
so you might think that, like, oh boy, here we go, but no, he does.
he does a great job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like every single atheist, but I've met the kind of person he's trying to represent there, and yeah, it tracks, and it's not like in some insulting caricature that's just like, aha, they're all idiots or something. It's a well written, well reasoned character, and it fits the role. Mm-hmm. So yeah, turns out he knows what he's doing.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, if you like fantasy, I totally recommend his work.
You somehow haven't heard of this already.
I mean, I know we've already mentioned some. I know, like, Warbreaker, the Steelheart series.
Yeah.
I definitely talked about Mistborn. I didn't like the second Mistborn series, but he's going to write another, and I'll still read it. Or listen to it, whatever.
Well, there's another book in this series, too.
What?
There's another book in the second series. There's one more book in the second series, then he starts the third series.
Oh, there's only one more, and then it's oh, okay. I thought he was gonna do. I thought Wax and Wayne was gonna continue for a while.
No,
he only has one more.
There's
Okay,
only one more.
I can accept this.
At least right now, who knows what plans Sanderson holds? But yeah, that's supposedly his plan as of the moment.
And like, I really, really loved the first Mistborn trilogy. Like, I have recommended to my mom every time I have seen her since finishing it. So
if you do want to get into Sanderson, I recommend starting there because Mistborn is good, and I like a lot of what it does. But the first book, especially, I feel he's still working out some of his writing style stuff and doesn't quite flow certain things quite as well. So it can feel like it drags at times. Not badly, mind you. It's just like, oh, okay. So starting there, you won't notice that nearly as much as compared to like when you read if you start with his later stuff and go back, it can feel a little rough compared to what you've gotten used to, but it's still like that's a mild thing. You could read them in any order and be fine. Well, obviously read the first book before the second, but other than that, yeah, the guy is kind of good,
really good.
just a tad.
And we're at the end.
We're at the end.
So go read some Brando Sando. It was really cute, okay?
I'll take
your
your
like,
word for
all
it.
hail Brando Sando. And like he did the arm thing to show that he was like praising him. It was really cute.
I see. Yes, he's very good.
And that is the end of For Heavenly Beasts, day 39. I got 3 hours and 7 minutes of footage. I'd continue, but my wrist is hurting me, and I don't want to push that. So there is my progress. There honestly isn't too much left. I'd say 2-3 more days. We'll see. Yeah, when I was writing, I tried to write December, and then I was like, oh shoot, it's January. But I didn't screw up on 2022, so granted, the main reason I didn't screw that up was because at work I've been getting receipts that are 2022, so I've been typing that out now. So I'm used to doing 2022, 01, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah. That's all I've got. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz. And I'll see you guys next video.